All right, check it. There are three ways to appreciate to determine whether art is good or not. The first is the easiest to understand. The third is a little more out there and into energy, so if you're not into that stuff, it may not be for you, but if you stick around, maybe it'll open your mind or your soul to it. So the first way is the way that we were all taught to appreciate art in school. That's using our mind. That's things like composition, color, contrast, all these techniques and theories. And I believe that is why, if you look at, like I was at a Henry Matisse exhibition, a retrospective of his whole career. If you look at the early works of these famous guys, old masters, the first works are always, not always, but they're representational art. So you can see landscapes and portraits and people, because that's how we learn art usually in school. And it makes sense because that's the easiest to grade. And in school, you have to grade things. Things have to be graded. So if you can grade it based on how did this person use theories of composition and color mixing and contrast and all these things, and that's all, I think, governed by the mind. So that's the first way to determine if art is good or not, is kind of your mind. What do you see? It's also stuff that you can explain. So when you're talking to people, talking about the art, critiquing it, it's all in the mind. And then there's phase two, which moves from the mind to the heart. And that is when you can feel like an emotional response to art. It doesn't always happen, it's not common, but maybe if you've been to a lot of art fairs, art exhibitions, or if you're an art collector and you have pieces at home, you may have connected emotionally with certain pieces of art. They make you feel something. Maybe certain pieces of art have brought you to tears. This is when your heart is feeling a connection to it, and I think that is the next level of really good art. This is similar to, I saw Simon Sinek, I think, talking about how when someone's in love and you ask someone, why do you love your partner? The first response is usually, I don't know. And that's because the heart, it's the part of the brain that's connected to the heart that governs having feelings towards someone or something, is not the same part of the brain that governs speech and the intellect. So if you're trying to explain with words and with intellect how you feel about something, it's very hard, which is why the first response can be, I don't know. So that's phase two, and I feel like as you look through an artist's career, learning art is learning all these mind-based concepts, and then they start to explore of how to put their heart into it. And I think that's also coincides with levels of success for an artist, is good creativity. And I'm not just talking about painters, I'm talking about all types of art. Good creativity is when the person is bearing their heart to the audience, and when the audience sees an expression of someone's heart, that results in better quality art, because the audience just feels it. They can't intellect it, which builds into phase three. I think the ultimate phase is the spiritual, soul-based connection, where the artist is communicating elements of their soul, of their soul's expression. The artist has not only been able to connect with the soul and the deepest core of who they are, cool, but they're also able to express it to others. And I think a lot of abstract art lives in this realm, which is why it can be controversial to some people, especially the intellectual types. It's hard to use your mind to describe abstract art and what makes abstract art good. The mind, you can look at abstract art and be like, it's just randomness. So why is this randomness better than that randomness? But I think it's because the best one is it's coming from a soul-aligned place of the artist, and I think the audience can feel that in their soul. Their soul has a natural mirroring and attraction to this expression of a human soul. That cannot be explained with phase one or phase two, the mind or the heart. It's the soul. it's like this energetic frequency, almost like a radio frequency, and we just align with it. We can pick up the signal and we're just like, oh, I like that. And you don't know why, I think. And yeah, just to go back, like all my art, I'm not saying I'm like some ascended phase 3 soul master. That is always my work, I feel, as an artist, is to personally, besides the art, I'm always trying to connect with myself and learn more about who I most authentically am. And then I'm trying to live my life in alignment with who I authentically am and expressing myself both in my relationships and my conversations and in my art, because I think that brings the most impact, beneficial impact to people who see my art, who collect it, who get to enjoy it, and even like watch these videos. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, abstract art. Yeah, I don't know. I forgot where I was going with that, but you can see it can be looked at as randomness, but this is just what my soul, my heart and soul wanted to create the day that I was making this, and this is kind of aligned with what I've been working on lately in my current journey of life as a soul. Oh, also this phase 3 thing, back to the Henry Matisse exhibit, I feel like, yeah, oftentimes in the Matisse example, the earlier works were more head-based and realistic and had all these theories of what he learned in art school. And then later in his life, I think, over time, people connect more to their soul's expression. It was way more abstract and different. So, here's what I wrote in my journal for the soul. This was a few days ago. The soul, an energetic connection that isn't understood with the mind, nor felt with the body's emotions. This is when you're in a state of wonder and unsure what to say. The artist is usually unsure how to talk about it, which is very true. I know a lot of artists don't really have a hard time talking about it. I know for me with some of these abstract pieces, it's hard for me to talk about it. All I want to say is like, I wanted to make this, so I made it. And then if I try to like intellectualize it and come up with words, it can be hard. It doesn't make sense. It exists simply because it must. It is appreciated because it is an authentic expression of a human soul, and other souls are drawn to it, as an inspiring example that it is possible to be authentically expressed. And that's that. So those are the 3 phases. I am curious, very curious, what you think about this, what other people think about this. Did I miss any phases? Yeah. Anyways, thanks for being here. Stick around, check out my website, check out my art, sign up for my email newsletter, like and subscribe, all the things, and I'll see you later.